We have been talking about the Mangala Shlokas by Abhinav Gupta in the beginning of his Abhinav Bharati on all these chapters and the sequence in the Mangala Shlokas. So I remember two of them. संसार नाट्य निर्माणे यावकाश विधानतः पूर्वरंगा यते व्योम मूर्तिं तां शांकरीं नुमः विश्वबीज प्ररोहार्थं मूलाधार तया स्थितम् धर्तृशक्तिमयं वन्दे धरणीरूपमीश्वरम्. Coming to the 17th chapter, which is titled as Kaku Swar Vyanjanadhyaya. So it deals with Kakus and Swaras. Vyanjan here means Abhivyakti, so manifestations of Kaku and Swara, but it deals various related topics to Vachik Abhinaya. So Vachik Abhinaya is continued up to 19th chapter, from 14th to 19th, various aspects of Vachik Abhinaya, beginning from prosody in 14th and 15th, then Kavya, Kavya Lakshana, Kavya Alankar, Kavya Gun, Kavya Dosh, etc. in 16th, and then the dialogue part of it. So it is all related to dialogue delivery and speech. This is a very important topic. The speech also in modern theatre, how to take it up. So languages in drama, this is also explained as per the languages adopted those days when Bharat Muni was writing, authoring Natya Shastra. Then speech modulations, intonations, Kaku is intonation, and pitch, voices, use of voice, etc. So 143 karikas of this chapter speak about all these aspects of speech as practiced in theatre. So in 26th he says Bhasha Chaturvidha Geya Dashrupe Prayogata. Okay. 4 types of languages are used in the performance of 10 types of drama, which he will describe just in the next chapter. 18th chapter deals with Dashrupakas. So when these Dashrupakas, various forms of drama are performed, staged, 4 types of languages are used. For text, so Pathya is text. So Sanskritam Prakritam Chaiva Yatra Pathyam Prayujyate, wherever text is performed, Sanskrit and Prakrit, these 2 languages are adopted, and these 2 languages have 4 categories: Atibhasha, Aribhasha, Jati Bhasha, Tathaivacha, Tatha Yonyantari Chaiva Bhasha Natye Pratisthita. Atibhasha, a language transcending the ordinary languages, which should be the language of gods. So Sanskrit here is not called the Dev Bhasha or language of gods. This also is a later construct for Sanskrit, that Sanskrit, the term Sanskrit is also a later use. Till Panini, or I think Patanjali also, the name Sanskrit so the name Sanskrit for the language which we now call Sanskrit. So this appellation Sanskrit was not in use, it was called Bhasha. But here Bharat Muni uses the term Sanskrit for this language, and this language might be having 2 layers, Atibhasha and Aribhasha. So The gods speak Ati Bhasha. So Sanskrit in itself is not Ati Bhasha. Sanskrit in itself is not Dev Bhasha, as I can understand from this. So Ati Bhasha and Arya Bhasha is Sanskrit which a community speaks in the times when Bharat Muni is composing Natya Shastra. And Jati Bhasha is languages of various maybe tribes, various communities all around the country. And this makes third one Jati Bhasha. The fourth one is Yonyantari Bhasha, the language belonging to other species, other than human beings. Okay, there may be other animals, birds, etc. So their language. So this is as per requirements of the drama, because sometimes you have to use the languages in the performance of Sanskrit drama. You have to use the languages which the birds might be speaking, or even monkeys might be speaking. So sometimes birds and monkeys are characters, so they won't be speaking Sanskrit language. But they are in Ratnavali. There is a Sarika, the Maina bird, and she just remembers the dialogues spoken by the heroine Sagarika, who is actually Ratnavali, to her friend, how she confides. So she, after listening to the conversation between these two friends, that Maina remembers it verbatim, and then after that she is repeating. So Udayana, the hero, hears, and he becomes curious about whom these two ladies are talking. But even there also, the speech of Maina, which is coming from Nepathya Graha, would not be just the way we or other characters like hero and other human characters might be speaking. So the imitation of a bird trying to speak in a way the humans speak, so that way the tones would change. So perhaps by language of other yonis or other species, he means that they might be speaking the same language, but their way of speech, like a small child, he speaks a language, so it becomes a kind of upabhransh, or it gets somewhat changed. Putla kar bolta hai bachcha. In the same way, the birds would speak in a somewhat different mode. So this is Yonyantari Bhasha, the fourth one. Ati Bhasha to Devanam, Arya Bhasha to Bhuvajam. Ati Bhasha belongs to the gods, Arya Bhasha belongs to the king's royal family. Samskar Pathya Sanyukta Samyak Nyaya Pratisthita. This Arya Bhasha is Sanskrit. It has purified text which is purified. It has been refined, so that is why it is called Sanskrit. And Samyak Nyaya Pratisthita. It is very well established by logic, roughly you can say. Vividha Jati Bhasha cha Prayoga Samudarata. And different types of Jati Bhasha. Jati Bhasha is spoken by diverse communities. These diverse languages or Jati Bhashas are also used in drama. Any problem?
Samskar Bhasha.
Samskarasya Bhasha, Samskar Pathya Sanyukta. You can say Sanskrit, Susamskrit, purified, refined.
By whom, sir?
Pardon?
Used by whom?
It is used by royal family persons belonging to royalty.
Arya Bhasha?
Arya Bhasha is the same. Samskar Pathya Sanyukta is an adjective for Arya Bhasha, being spoken by the upper class, by the kings. Sometimes the queens also speak Sanskrit and ladies also speak Sanskrit. That he will take up later. But roughly this happens in Sanskrit drama, that a pure form of Sanskrit is being spoken by the elite class. That is the idea. And Jati Bhasha, the language belonging to different communities. Regional languages also. and म्लेच्छ शब्दोपचारा च भारतम वर्षम आश्रिता. It is also called म्लेच्छ भाषा. It should be lakar, sorry. So म्लेच्छ, by उपचार it is called म्लेच्छ भाषा, and various types of jati bhashas including म्लेच्छ भाषा, they are spoken in Bharatvarsh, the country which now we called India.
Sir, म्लेच्छ भाषा नाना जाति.
Jati, I think, is here, it means various communities, various regional communities. I think we will have time for questions.
Ah, right.
Okay. If there is anything urgent or small, you can.
No. Please carry.
Just is there a convention of using Prakrit for Jati and Yoni Bhasha?
Convention.
Yes.
I think that will come.
Okay.
When he comes to their usages by different characters and the way they will be used, that I think will become clear. अथ योन्यंतरी भाषा ग्रामारण्य पशुद्भवा नाना विहंगजा चैव नाट्य धर्मी प्रतिष्ठिता. The bhasha, language belonging to other species, maybe animals and birds. So animals means the pet animals in villages, like you may say cow and dogs, and the wild animals who live, they live in forest. So gram aranya pashudbhava, so spoken being generated by the animals who may be residing either in villages or in forest. And nana vihangaja, it is also produced by different types of birds. Vihang is bird, and whenever this language is being used, it will always be natya dharmi way. Okay, it cannot be lok dharmi, because no animal and no bird would be speaking the way their language would be emanating or would be practiced on in theater or on stage. So it is always invariably natya dharmi. It is not. It cannot be so in our day-to-day world that a bird would speak the way it is made to speak in theater, as it happens in Ratnavali Natika. Then perhaps what you wanted to know, what does he mean by Jati Bhasha? So he comes to that. Jati Bhasha Shreyam Pathyam Dividam Samudharatam. This Jati Bhasha Shrey Pathya is also of two types, Prakritam, Sanskritam, Chaiva. That means Bharat Muni here is holding two levels of Sanskrit itself. Okay, there is a level spoken, there is a very purified form of Sanskrit language, which is Sanskar Pathya Sanyukt and Samyak Nyaya Pratisthita. It is very logical and methodical and purified. That is spoken by the elite class or upper class. And there is a Sanskrit which is normally spoken. So Sanskrit language itself has a category of Jati Bhasha. It becomes a Jati Bhasha. So Natya Shastra is being compiled in the age when Pali or Prakrit is also there, because there are inscriptions, Ashokan inscriptions in Prakrit, and Sanskrit is also being spoken by different communities. Even ordinary men are speaking Sanskrit, as in Patanjali, that an ordinary person, maybe he is a charioteer or what, he is correcting what a Vipra is speaking, a very interesting dialogue, that you are speaking in a wrong way, he says, and he corrects, and that person gets angry. So Ashok ji might be knowing the whole context, but there is no time to take it up now. So around the beginnings of Christian era, before a few centuries to it and after a few centuries to it, Sanskrit language is very much a common language also, and even masses are speaking it, and Prakrit languages are also here. So this multilingualism has always been here, and this continued up to 18th century. It was our colonizers who presented a different kind of picture, I think, and they they started saying that Sanskrit language is something very distant type of thing, and it belonged to past. It is no more in vogue. So gradually that idea settled in our minds that Sanskrit language is out of vogue. It is no more in practice. It was not so till 18th century or even in the beginning, early 19th century. So in some form or other, Sanskrit language continued to be spoken, to be and texts were being written in it. So this was the state right from early Christian era, and Prakrit and Sanskrit. And significantly, he says Chatur Varni Samashrayam. All the people belonging to 4 Varnas, they speak Prakrit and Sanskrit both. So who will be the characters who would be speaking Sanskrit mostly, or as a general norm, as a general practice? Dhirodhate, Salalite, Dhirodate, Tathayucha. These 4 types of heroes, Dhirodhat, Dhir Lalit, Dhirodat, and Dhir Shant. They will be using the Sanskrit text in their conversation. Eshamev tu sarvesham nayakanam prayogatah karanavyapadeshena prakritam samprayojyat. And at the same time, all these 4 types of heroes, owing to some specific reason or purpose, some motive may be there, they may speak Prakrit also. So those speaking Prakrit, very common people, they understand Sanskrit, and if there is occasion, it becomes necessary, they can also speak Sanskrit. But their common practice is to speak a form of Prakrit for very ordinary people. And people of middle class and upper class, they are speaking normally Sanskrit. But if there is an occasion or if it becomes necessary, they can also speak Prakrit easily. Then he gives reasons why and how a person who normally speaks in Sanskrit starts speaking in Prakrit. So there may be some compulsion, he says. Daridrya dhyana bhava yadrichhadivirevacha. Out because of poverty, he has become very poor. So it is possible that he starts speaking in Prakrit instead of Sanskrit. Very good reason, you see, very convincing reason. From my experience, I can say. I was not speaking in my language to my wife even for several years, as long as I was professor, dean, then became vice chancellor. We talked always in Hindi. She is also has been a university teacher. And the day I retired from university professorship and I came to her, I didn't know how and why it happened. The first sentence which I spoke to my wife was in Malvi, which perhaps 30-40 years I have not spoken to her in that. It happens thus. So a character just become, he has shred off all his upadhis. Then that language which must have been his language suddenly may come to him. So this may happen naturally, or he is not educated. He may not be educated. That way he would speak in Prakrit. And Yadricha, uski marji hai, it is a sweet will. If he opts for Prakrit, it suits him, he can. So this is his free will, freedom also. And Aishwaryana Pramattanam Daridryana Plutatmanam. It is possible that a man is intoxicated by his power, Aishwarya. So then he forgets purified language because the power corrupts him. So he can speak in any language. The great our netas, you can see them, their language, what language they are speaking. So they may be very corrupt, so they may be using corrupt language. And those whose very nature has been spoiled because of poverty, etc. And even the noble characters who have not received proper education, they may not be speaking Sanskrit. So anadhitottamanam cha, the upper class society people, if they have not been educated, so they would not be speaking Sanskrit. So Sanskrit should not be they should not be made to speak in Sanskrit. Okay. Then again, various female characters also, they can speak Sanskrit. Okay. In Malti Madhav, Kamandaki always speaks Sanskrit because she is a scholar, Nayayik. So, and in I think the Parivrajika in Malvikagnimitraam, she is also a scholar. She speaks very good Sanskrit, and the way she describes the whole Abhinaya of Malvika as per Natya Shastra in very beautiful words, stanzas. So that way there are many ladies who are speaking in Sanskrit. So sometimes the queens also, Ragyashcha Ganikayashcha. Ganika was normally trained in various arts. She was skilled, and she may be a scholar also. Ganikas were sometimes included in cabinet by the king. A Ganika could become a counselor. She could become a member of the council of ministers. And they sometimes they earned a lot of respect also. Sometimes the kings employed them for the education of a young prince also. So for various reasons. Perhaps they were supposed to teach the young prince how he would save him from the trap of a Ganika. So a Ganika herself would teach how to save, how a man should save himself from the trap of a Ganika. So for that purpose also, such references are there in Kshemendra and Kuttani Matam and Katha Saris Sagar and other texts, but that we will not discuss here. And Shilpakarika is described in the coming chapters, perhaps in 26th. So the Antapur has various ladies, various servants or queens. So Shilpakarika is one of them. She is skilled in arts, therefore she is called Shilpakarika. And sometimes the Shilpakarika because of her skill in arts, in dance and music, she receives special favor from the king. So Iravati was, as the commentators tell us, that type of Shilpakarika. And even the Hanspadika, who sings a song from the Nepathya in the 5th act of Shakuntal, the commentators say that she was a Shilpakarika. Therefore she doesn't have any authority, and sometimes king visited her and then she is neglected. So therefore she is singing a song about her, Paridevan or complaint. Anyway, so about all these ladies, Bharat Muni says that they may use Sanskrit part here. They may speak in Sanskrit. Their dialogues, text can be in Sanskrit as per requirements. So Kala Avastha Antargatam, as per arts and Avastha state, as per their acquisition of arts and as per the Avastha state or state of affairs, they can use Sanskrit besides Prakrit. Athva Chandatah Karya Desh Bhasha Prayog Trivi. Here the term Desh Bhasha is used. So different languages prevailing in different regions, they can be used. Here singular number indicates plural actually. And Prakrit also, if it is used in Sanskrit, it is for various Prakrits. So Desh Bhashas are regional languages belonging to different provinces of this country. They can be out of the will of the characters, they can be used. Nana Desh Samutthamhi Kavyam Bhavati Nataki. The same thing. The Kavya or textual part in the Nataka, in the dramatic piece, would be coming from diverse regions. So the languages of those regions respectively would be mixed up. So now he is 7 types of Prakrits he is enlisting. So these were normally the Prakrits which were prevalent in the times when Natya Shastra was being compiled. Later on, many other Prakrits might have come, because in Matsya Katik, perhaps 26 types of Prakrits Prakruts are used. And in Rajshekhara, various other varieties. Avanti Prakrit is listed. Shorshani, Magdi, Ardhamagdi is listed. Magdi is not. Magdi is also listed. Yes. So these are the main Prakrits: Magdi, Avantika, Prachya, belonging to the eastern region, and Shaurseni, belonging to the region around Delhi, Mathura, etc. And Ardhamagdi, Valika, towards the northern part of the country. Valik is referred, and the people of Valik Desh are being laughed at also. Gaurvahika, Valika, something like that is given an example of for Lakshana in Natya Shastra. I should be sure any anyway. And Dakshinatya, the region, the languages belonging to southern region, 48. Everywhere this type because of the typing. Shorseni, it is Talavishakar. Yes.
Balika is bulk region of Afghanistan.
Yes, Afghanistan. You are right.
Balika and Vahika are sometimes confused, but they are different.
Vahika is different.
Vahika is Punjab, part of Punjab.
Okay. So it is bulk. Yeah, Afghanistan. Okay. Anyway, then this treatment of Pathya Gunas is very important so far as the training of actors goes, and it also gives us clues how the actors were trained in ancient times. So Pathya Gunan idanim Vakshyamaha. Now we will explain the Pathya Gunas, the qualities of text or recitation. So these are the Pathya Gunas. सप्तस्वराः त्रीणि स्थानानि चत्वारो वर्णाः द्विधा काकुः अलङ्काराः अंगानि. 6 Pathya Gunas are there, and this unity of number 6 is maintained sometimes here in this chapter, because alankaras are 6, angas are 6, only varnas are 4 and kaku is of 2 types, and swaras are of 7 types because they are very well known as their number is always 7. In music, swaras or notations are 7. So sapta swara, 7 notes in music. So they are not the notes of music here. The same swaras become the swaras for Pathya. Okay, this difference we will have to note. So a person speaking a dialogue is utilizing all the swaras, Shadj, Rishabh, Gandhar, Daivat, Nishad, but he is not singing. So this will be explained later. And Trini Sthanani, Uras, Kanth, Shiras, the limbs which from which the sounds would emanate, and 4 varnas, modes of articulation, Udat, Anudat, Swarit, Kampit. This he will explain. Didha, Kaku, 2 types of Kaku or intonation. Alankaras, for the text delivery, dialogue delivery, they are entirely different. And the term Alankar is a pervasive, Alankar is a pervasive concept. The basic concept remains the same, that which makes perfect, Alankaroti. And the state of perfection also, the state reached after the holistic structure has been achieved, or a perfect structure. So that also is indicated by the word Alankara. So Alankara that way is a fundamental concept, and it has various categories for various genres. So Alankaras are here. They are Alankaras of Pathya and Pathyanga, the components of Pathya. So these are the 6 qualities of Pathya or text, Pathya Gunas. Esham idanim lakshanam abhivyakhyasyaamah. Now we will explain the characteristics of these lakshanas. Tatra saptaswara nam. So these, they are very well known, the 7 swaras. Again there is a typing mistake. Shadj, it should be dakar. So षड्जर्षभ Gandhar Madhyam Devata Nishadha Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Dha Ni. Etta ete raseshu upapadya. They should be implied in different rasas. I think the examples are not given, but normally we may be speaking whenever we are speaking, even in a normal way, some kind of swara we are implying. Unknowingly we are implying. Exactly, it may not be the swara as used in a musical note or in a song, but swara is there. Okay. So, आप जा रहे हैं, you are going. So perhaps you are just implying shadja only. But when you say आप जा रहे हैं, then there is a nishada and risha. Ultimately again something light. So this structure begins there if somebody makes a graph of it. So everybody has his own employment of these notes, but he is not singing. And if you just change it on आप जा रहे हैं, so then it will be kaku. Then it will be a sakanksha kaku. You expect an answer. You either you are going or you are not going. So this we always imply some swara, even when I am speaking in a very normal way, and maybe my voice is not being raised. It is neither going down. So I may be implying just shadjan rishab, sare. In this way I might be speaking. So they say that in some way the 7 swaras were there, somewhere this is for singing, but mostly 3 or 4 swaras are implied. So some people don't have their high pitch and they don't lower and raise their voice, so they are implying maybe shadj, rishab and gandhar only mostly. Those people who are used to raise their voice and use intonations, modulations, they are implying perhaps all these 7 swaras, but not musically. Not musically, it doesn't mean that they have Vaisvarya. They are unmusical. Even their pathya would have rhythmic pattern. So chandas, because it is said that chandas is everywhere. So chandas, the whole rhythmic pattern cosmologically percolates everywhere. So that way everyone has his own pattern of swara. So these 7 swaras, notes, musical notes, when we are not singing, they are implied in our text. So therefore an actor should always remember that even when he is speaking a dialogue in a normal way, he is implying perhaps all the swaras, and he is not singing that way. So the Sanskrit shlokas also, so they are for they are to be recited, they are not to be sung. Sometimes what happens that in the performance of a Sanskrit drama, they think that because it is a shloka, so we can sing it. So the Sharadvat is in a challenging tone, he is addressing Dushyanta. Yadi yatha vadati kshetipasthatha tamasi kim piturutkulaya tvaya athatu vesi shuchivratamaatmana patikule tavadasyam apikshamam. So many swaras are implied, but if you start as yadi yatha vadati kshetipasthatha tamasi kim piturutkulaya tvaya, the whole beauty of the dialogue is gone. And they would say, is it Drut Vilambit? So I know Drut Vilambit is sung that way. So the actor, because he is a Sanskrit Pathshala student, so he will say, yes, this is the way. I am Sharadvat. So I will my Guru has taught me. Guruji is also very happy that dekho kitna acha. He is a good actor. So this used to happen in the way sometimes Sanskrit plays were staged. So, and the very vigor and force of Sharangrava's dialogue So that cannot be sung in any way. Mushtam pratigrahayata samartham patri krito dasyurivasiyena. And the tone will be raised and suddenly it will go down. So the various swaras are there. Then so this is 7 swaras. Then he says alankaras also. 6 types of alankaras are there. And then he says in Pathya also you should know for what rasa, what swaras you will be implying. So you should know what is your swara. You should know the scale, your own scale when you are speaking. When you are speaking prose also, you should know your scale. Then you should imply consciously the swara appropriate to a particular rasa. So that he is telling Hasya Shrangaryo Karyo Saru Madhyama Panchamu. For Hasya and Shrangara, Madhyam and Pancham would be used. So in a song also, you can play music and give, if harmonium you are playing, so if you keep Madhyam and Pancham, it will be an effect of Hasya and Shangara. So in music also, but in normal dialogue delivery also you should know your own Pancham and Madhyam. For the sequences or episodes of Hasya and Shangara, you should use Madhyam and Pancham. And Shadjar Shabhu Chaiva Veer Rodrat Bhuteshu. Shadj and Rishabh for Veer Rodra and Adbhut. And Gandharascha Nishadascha Kartavyu Karunerase. For Karun Ras, pathetic sentiments, you should use Gandhar and Nishad. So those who know some kind of music, they would be appreciating. This is very appropriate. This Nishad has a very pathetic type of note, Ni, that Nishad, and Gandhar also. So for Karun Rasa or Pathos, they are suitable. And Devat, we can understand. It is for Bibas and Bhayanaka. If in Mandra Saptak, if you press this Devat, so it creates that type of effect of a dreadful kind of feeling. Then, so the third quality of Pathya Gun is Sthan. After Swar, I think it is second. Okay. Those, after Swara, the next quality is Sthan. The Uras, Kant and Shiras. Chest, throat and cerebral. These 3 are the places for dialogue delivery, for speech. So he says, Sharirya Mata Vinayam Tribhya Sthanebhya Evatu Urusa Shirsa Kanthat Swaraha Kaku Pravartate. In Shariri Veena, this has already been explained that there are 2 types of Veenas, Shariri Veena and Darvi Veena. So the body of an actor becomes a lute, a Veena. That is Shariri Veena. So in case of Shariri Veena, you can know these limbs, Uras, Shiras and Kantha. In case of Darvi Veena, they will be transferred to Darvi Veena. So the instrumentalist would copy the way Shariri Veena functions on these 3 levels, chest, throat and murdha, cerebral part. So Ursa, Shirsa, Kanthat, Swara, Kaku, Pravartate. Swaras and Kakus emanate from these 3 places, these 3 limbs in Shariri Veena. So Avashanam Chadurasthe Shirsa Samprayojit. So this is normally in practice. Whosoever does theatre, even in our normal life, ordinary life also, we do this. So when we are calling a person who is at a distant place, standing at a little distance, we use the swara coming from the upper part of this vocal cords. So Shirsa from the cerebral part, the address would come out. Sambodhan would come out. Nati dure che kanthena. If a person is not so far away, he is a little bit near. So from kantha, the swara would emanate. And Ursodaharatam Vakyam Shirsa Deepayet. In the same way, in normal dialogue delivery, the speech coming out from chest should be illuminated by raising upwards up to the cerebral part. So that is called Deepan. So this is Deepan is also explained later on. So it's a kind of illumination for making the speech powerful that way. What we call Ojas, Ojobandh. And if you are making an effort to specify a character being addressed, then you bring it to the lower part. So Kanthena Shamanam Kuryat. So for reaching the state of Shaman, you should have to lower it towards Kantha. So in all Pathya Yogas, in all recitations, this should be the method. So you raise your voice upwards and then you bring it down. As we can do in many verses also, that the pitch goes higher and then it comes down. In the last quarter, it may come down. Then Varnas. The next quality is Varna. So Varna or syllables, they are of 4 types: Udatta, Anudatta, Swarit and Kampit. Okay. The English equivalents are given as acute, grave, circumflex and quivering. If they are better words, you can suggest. Anyway. And Udatta, Uchchair Udatta, Nichair Anudatta, Samahara Swarita. These are the characteristics given from Paninian system and they are accepted here. Only Kampit is added. It is a theatrical requirement. So this is the 4th, quivering. So Udatta is your voice is raised, Anudatta is brought down, and Swarit it is on equal level, and Kampit it is quivering. So these are the 4 Varnas. So all the letters in a text can be pronounced 4 way, that way. And for different rasas, these 4 Varnas can be implied in the same way as musical note, as the 7 swaras we imply. Tatra hasya shangarayo swarito dattaihi varnaihi pathyam upapadyam. In hasya and shangar, in humor and erotic rasas, Swarit and Udatta Varnas should be implied. Veera Raudra Adbhuteshu Udatta Kampitaihi. In heroic and terrific and in the episodes of wonder, Adbhut Rasa, Udatta and Kampit, these 2 should be. So naturally your voice is quivering when you are excited in Raudra Rasa or in Adbhut Rasa or even in Veer Rasa also. So these 2 will be implied there. And Karuna Bibhatsa Bhayanakeshu Anudatta Swarita Kampitaihi. 3 Varnas can be implied in these rasas. Equally they can be implied in Karuna, pathetic, Bibhatsa, disgust, and Bhayanak, fearful. You can imply these 3. Then I have quoted this Panini Siksha. It is I think somewhere Bharat Muni has also covered it. We will find it, but I just remembered. So it is in 7 Swaraj or in 7 Swaraj also. Some Swaras are Udatta, some are Swarita, and some are Anudatta, etc. Panini Siksha says. Then intonation or kaku. So Dvidha kaku, 2 types of kaku is there. 2 types of kaku is there. Sakanksha and Nirakanksha. Sakanksha, where there is expectancy of a response. So 2 characters are having conversation, and normally we use kaku intonation even in our routine way of speaking also. But sometimes we use a sakanksha kaku and sometimes we use nirakanksha kaku. So intonation is emphasizing on a part of a sentence that is mostly there, but sometimes we give emphasis when we are expecting a response, and we give emphasis when we are not expecting a response. The sentence is complete in itself. So these two ways of implying kaku are there. Mathnami kaurav shatam samare na kopat. Mathnami kaurav shatam samare na kopat. If you say this way, there is no kaku. And when kaku is right, mathnami kaurav shatam na samare na kopat, something like that. So क्या मैं मत नहीं डालूंगा? Will I not smash the whole army of Kauravas? Something like that will. So the something, a response from Sahadeva, his brother Bhima expects. He would say yes. Bade bhaiya, big brother, you will do that. Yes, you will be able to do that. So that way he is speaking. So it is in a way sakanksha kaku and nirakanksha normally we use. So vakyasya sakanksha nirakangshatvat. A sentence can be sakanksha nirakangsha. Sentence can be expecting a response and it may not be expecting a response. So these definitions are there. Aniyuktarthakam vakyam sakanksam iti. Aniyuktarthak vakya, where the statement is not complete in itself and it expects something else to be added, then it is sakanksha. Niyuktartham tu yadvakyam nirakanksha. When it is complete in itself, it is nirakanksha. Then how to speak a sentence in sakanksha kaku and how to speak a sentence in nirakanksha kaku. So it's a part of training. Okay. So you can practice it at your home, and in rehearsals normally the actors are made to practice the dialogues that way. So taradi mandrantam aniyuktartham aniryatita varnalankaram kanthorasthanam. That is sakanksha. Sakanksha starts from tara, very high pitch, and ends in aap jaiye, something like that. So it will, the voice, the pitch lowers, and then taradi mandrantam aniyuktartham, the meaning statement is not complete in itself. Aniryatita varnalankaram, the varnas and alankaras are not completely rendered. Varnas and alankaras are described, so they are incomplete. And kantha urah sthana gatam, it is sound emanates from kantha, throat, and uras, chest. Nirakanksam nam niyuktartham, complete statement is nirakanksha. Niryati varnalankaram, the varnas and alankaras are completed. And shirasthanagatam, it is from the higher part of the ucharan avayava of the limbs which are used for pronunciation. And mandradi tarantam, starting from lower pitch to ending in higher pitch. Then 6 alankaras. Uccho deeptascha mandrascha nicho druta vilambitam. These are the 6 alankaras. So for a speech, so they will create pitch, and they will supplement the swaras and rhythmic patterns also, tempo also. So Uch is high pitch, Deepta is heightened, and Mandra is grave, Nich is low pitch, and Druta is fast, Vilambit is slow. So these are the 6 alankaras. And in the same way as it for intonation, kaku, you are supposed to know how you will start and how will you end, from what ucharan sthan, from what part of your vocal organs the sound should emanate. So in the same way, for all the 6 alankaras, he is describing the placement. Uccho nama shirasthanagatas taraswara. Which starts from the upper part, cerebral, and it is in high pitch. Such durastha bhashana vismay uttarottar sanjal duravhan trasana badhadeshu. It is used for addressing a character standing at a distance. It is used for wonder. It is used for altercations. Uttarottar sanjal, when there is a kind of debate or altercation between the characters. And duravhana, calling from a distance. Trasan, for making a person afraid, for terrifying him. And badha, creating some hurdle, etc. Deepta is even more heightened. So a continuous high pitch is maintained in Deepta. So Shirasthana Gatas Taratara. So it is your voice is raised in Deepta. You continue to raise your voice from the upper part. So that is Deepta. Such Akshep Kala Vivad Amarsh Krusht Adharshana Krodh Shaurya Tishna Ruksha Vidhan. It is Kshakar. Ruksha Vidhan Nirbhatsana Akranditadishu. So this Deepta is used for all these things. Allegations, quarrels, debates, indignation, and blaming somebody, using abusive language with pulling or thrashing, and anger, and expressing your valor, shaurya, and saying something very rude. All these, for all these sequences, or nirbharsan and condemning, akrandit, crying, this deepta would be used. Okay. Mandro naam urasthanagata. Mandra is lower pitch. It will be used in various sanchari bhavas. Nirveda, indifference, glani, indolence, chinta, anxiety, otsukki, curiosity, dainya, deenta, vyadhi, disease, pida, play, and guard, shastra, kshatra. Somebody is hurt deeply, he has received wounds, then also he will be speaking in a mandra way, जिसको कराह कर बोलना कहते हैं. So that way he would be speaking in a staggering voice, in a slow pitch. And murcha is becoming unconscious, and mad intoxication also, and having conversation of something which is not to be open. So Guyartha Vachan. Okay. Secret talk, if some characters are having. So Mandra will be there. And Nicha is still lower. So Nicha is Urasthana Gata Mandratara. Lowering your voice so that it comes from the chest and it is even lower. Such as Swabhava, Abhashan, Vyadhi, Shram, Artha, Trasta, Patita, Murchita, Adishu. In natural speaking, and disease, and Sham, state of peace, tranquility, Sham, tiredness, Arth, impatience, and fear, etc. And Murchit Avastha, that is being unconscious. So for all these, this is used. Druta is next. It emanates from the Kantha. Druto nama Kanthagata, Sachat Tvarita. So you increase your tempo in Drut if you are using Druta. It is rapidly spoken. And Lallan, Manman, Bhai, Sheet, Jwar, Tras, etc. All these, for all these it is used. Lallan, love making affectionately, like a child being caressed by mother. That is, in Hindi we say lad pyar, lalan. So lalan, the word lalan also comes from here. In Hindi, lallu, lal, all these words would come from here. Lallu dhatu. Many roots and many sangyas in Natyashastra are colloquial perhaps, and they are from other languages maybe. And I think the Kashmiri language, if it was there those days, so many words are from that languages. Some language in the Kashmir region was there, I don't know whether it is Paishachi Prakrit. They were calling all regional languages as Prakrit sometimes. So there is a form of language. So many, even we have seen in the first stanza, Abhinavgupta says that there is Chekanupras, Pitamah Maheshwar, Pranamya Shirsadevu, Pitamah Maheshwaravu. So Patiharendu Raj says that this word Cheka is not a Sanskrit word. It comes from Kashmiri language. So they knew that we are borrowing words from Kashmiri language. Mankha, author of a great epic, is writing in Srinagar, Pravarpur. So in his epic, Srikhand Charitam, several words from Kashmiri language are there. In Bilhand's Vikmang Charitam, some words from Kashmiri language are there. So I have a guess that in Nat Shastra also, several non-Sanskrit words are there. And they may be from the language which was prevalent in that region, because it is being compiled around Himalayan region or in Kashmir. So Manman is also that type of, in Hindi we say Manana. So winning over in love, maybe in affection, you are trying to convince in a very pleasing way. So Lallan, Manman, and Bhay, fear, sheet, cold, jwar, fever, tras, being terrified, terror. In all these situations, your speech comes very rapidly. Something like that. That mother says, so her tone, she is speaking quickly that way, out of emotion also, and that is the way. Vilambito nama kanthasthanagatas tanu mandra. Vilambit, when it is slow, tempo is very slow. So it comes from the throat and even more low. And in all these situations, Shrangar, Karuna, Vitarkit, reasoning, vichar, pondering over, thinking, amarsh. This Madam Saroj Deshpande says that indignation can be an appropriate word for amarsh. So I think it is possible to accept it. So amarsh and indignation, asuya in the avyaktartha, something not being made explicit. For that also pravad, some evil is being spoken, defamation, etc. Lajja, shame, chinta, anxiety, parjan, threatening, vismay, wonder, doshanu kirtan, enumerating the evils or blemishes, and dirghrog, a long disease, chronic disease, you may say, nipidan, pressing hard, all these things. So in such situations you imply. And he is summing up by suggesting how in a general way all these should be implied. So Vismay Amar Shiva Shaiva Praharshay Paridevita Vilambita Chidipta Cha Kakur Mandra Cha Vai Bhavet. In all these emotional situations, so Vismay, wonder, Amarsh, indignation, Praharsh, joyous, becoming overjoyous, and Paridevit, lamenting, Vilambit and Deept, both these will be mixed up along with Mandra. And Lagvakshar Prayak Krate, Gurvakshar Krate, Tatha Ucha Deepta Cha Kartabhya Kakus Tatta Prayog Tribhi. Depending on the texture of the Pathya, whether it has mostly Raghu Aksharas or whether it has Guru Aksharas, long vowels and consonant, long vowels or short vowels. So depending on that, you can imply Ucha Deept Kaku. So Shrangar Rahasya Karuneshu Ishta Kakur Vilambita. In Shrangar Rahasya and Karuna Rasas, erotic, humor and pathetic, you can use Vilambit Kak. So Kaku is Akanksha, Nirakanksha, but when you mix up these swaras or sthanas or alankaras, then that would create this Vilambita Kaku intonation implied with Vilambit tone, tempo, etc. And Veer Raudra Adbhuteshu Ucha Deepta Vapi Prashashyate. In Veer Raudra and Adbhut, heroic and terrific and wonder, you can use Deepta and Ucha. Then Bhayanake Sabhivatsya Druta Nicha Cha Kirtita. In Bhayanak and Vivats, Druta and Nicha. In this way, you can imply. And last, I think, is 6 Angas. And this is also very important. So the whole dialogue delivery, it is characterized by these 6 Angas, 6 components. So Vicheda is cessation, Arpan presentation, Visarg is release, Anubandha continuation, Deepan is illuminating or heightening, you can say, and Prashman is extinction. So these 6 components of complete dialogue delivery, they are there. So you can recognize them when a skilled actor is speaking some sentences. Sometimes he will just pause, sometimes he continues, sometimes he makes a sort of release to communicate. Okay, sometimes he heightens his tone and sometimes he just reaches low. So these are the definitions. And Vichedo Nama Viramakrita, Vichedo cessation comes when you pass. Arpanam Nama, this is very beautifully described in Natya Shastra because the actors would be doing this Arpan. So Lila Yaman Madhur Valguna Swarena Pura Yate Varangam Yat Pathyate Tad Arpanam. Very playfully and sweet, beautiful voice, you are simply continuing continuously and presenting your sentence that way, then it would be Arpan. In old actors, I find this delivery of there used to be one Prithviraj Kapoor. They knew how to do this dialogue delivery. Otherwise, in other actors, this Nasiruddin Shah, he's a good actor. They come from theatre. Prithviraj Kapoor was a great theatre personality, a great hero. In his performances, 10,000, 8,000 people came when for seeing his play being performed. When cinema had not come, and whenever his troupe went to any city, bookings were made prior to that, and all the tickets were booked. So they call the box office is running that way. So he was a phenomena that way, Prithviraj Kapoor. So when I did not see him on stage, later on he came. When films started, he became a great hero for films also. So that you can know that he is coming from his theatre. So he knows how to deliver the dialogues. The way he uses all these 6 Angas. Very distinctly you can know. If you see any film of Prithviraj Kapoor, Mughal-e-Azam you see, he is performing Akbar or any other his film. Wonderful personality, and his voice, it resounds. So what an effect it would have created when he was speaking. There were no mics those days, and 10,000 persons are watching. So his voice has that quality. Okay. So Deepanam Anubandho na Padantareshopi Vicheda. Just I am coming to. I think this is the last part. So, Anubandha is continuation, and you stop and then breathe again and then again continue. This is Anubandha. Deepan is illumination. You are using all the 3 sthanas. Prashman is pacification or extinction. So your high pitch slowly comes down. All these. So he now suggests for what rasas these 6 Patyangas would be implied. And this is the last stanza. What I had said, that even when you are reciting a shloka, you may desist from using the yati which the shloka requires normally. You will be using yati as the theatre requires, your performance on the stage requires. So kim gaccha mavisha sudurjana varitosi. You should not say like this. Kim gaccha mavisha sudurjana varitosi. This is not the way to speak on stage. Kim gach mavish sudurjana varitosi. Something like that, because you have to pause at each pad. So this is his idea. This is the last. This way you should have the employment of kaku, swaras and speech modulations. I think we have time for discussion, or
We have 20
otherwise we
minutes.
can proceed.
Yeah, I mean, if there are questions, then we have 20 minutes. Otherwise, we can proceed.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. good morning.
Here we talk about Trini Sthan, but we do not talk about the Vani. In theatre practice, they usually say that your voice has to come through Paravani. So how do we relate this Trini Sthan with Vani? You gave example of Prithviraj Kapoorji. At that time there was no mic system, so your voice has to reach to the person who is sitting at the end of the theatre. So that time they say it is better you speak from your Paravani and then only you can reach to the last person in the audience. So is there any way we can relate these two, the Sthan and the Vani?
No, I perhaps I am not very familiar the way they are teaching. If you are a theatre person, the way they are teaching, because we don't use the term Paravani that way. Para is entirely a different concept, and Abhinavgupta, the whole Shaiva system, they adopted Bhartari's paradigm of triple speech, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikari, and they added this Para, which is the subtlemost level. From that everything emanates. So that is the subtlest of the subtle form of Vani. In that sense, the Paravak is used in Utpal Deva and Abhinavas Guru Lakshman Gupta and Abhinav Gupta himself. They, particularly Abhinav Gupta, he explains the whole creative process on the basis of these four levels of Vak or speech. The creative process for a poet and the creative process for an actor also. So these four levels of Vak would be used, but that is Abhinav Gupta, he is doing it. In Bharat Muni, we don't have these levels of Vak as per the philosophy of Bhartrihari. The philosophy of Vak is there, that is given to him from Vedic tradition, that he has explained in the initial stanzas in the 4th chapter. But by Paravani, if you mean that how to raise your voice to the level that the last person in a large crowd would also be hearing, that depends on the practice and power and strength of an actor. Some actors are gifted, and those who are not gifted, they may do that by practice. So there is no other way out. Prithviraj Kapoor, I have not seen an actor having the quality of the voice that he had. Nobody so far. वो अमिताभ बच्चन की आवाज़ की बहुत तारीफ करते हैं, वो तो बहुत पिद्दी उसके सामने लगता है. अगर आप सुने, if you hear Prithviraj Kapoor speaking, so his quality of voice is that way. And all the actors on Parsi theatre during 19th century, a big momentum of Parsi theatre throughout the whole India, beginning from Kashmir to remote south. In Karnataka, there are Parsi theatre companies. In Maharashtra, so many, Kirloskar company, Victoria Theatre company, they are there, and all their actors. So the actors they are paid. They are being paid handsome salaries. So they are picked up, looking to their voice also. So Sohrab Modi was a great actor. That Premchand Narsi, we could see him a few years before. He was the last living Parsi actor, a legendary figure. So I didn't personally see him, but I saw his interviews on TV. So from that I know every human being doesn't have that quality. Just as Pratibha is a gift, So voice also is a God's gift for a musician, for an actor also. But those who do not have the God's gift, for example, my voice is very weak, but if I practice pranayam and yoga and some exercises I do, and some good theater director trains me how to use intonations and raise my pitch and lower my pitch, so my delivery may improve. It may not improve to the extent the gifted person might be having. So by use of Paravani, if you mean that how he would raise his voice so that it becomes audible for a large crowd, that depends upon practice and the upper part of the organs which are used for pronouncement, what they call murdha or shiras. So the use of wind also. So you have to use the speech emanating from the lower parts to bring it to the upper parts and then speak. That much I can say. Otherwise, I completely do not know what by Paravani you mean. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
सर, हमने पहले तो ये सुना था कि जितना भी पुरुष वर्ग है और नायक इत्यादि ये सब तो संस्कृत का ही प्रयोग करते थे, और जितना भी स्त्री समुदाय और परिजन वर्ग है वो प्राकृत का उच्चारण करते हैं। तो क्या भाषा के आधार पर ये जो लेटर डेवलपमेंट हुआ है भरत मुनि के आधार पर, तो आज हमने ये जाना कि ये डेवलपमेंट नहीं है, तो ये डेवलपमेंट फिर बाद में कैसे आया? क्योंकि जितने नाटक पढ़े उसमें सारा स्त्री पात्र तो प्राकृत में ही संभाषण कर रहे हैं।
नहीं, ये तो भरत मुनि भी कहते हैं कि सामान्यतया तो स्त्री पात्र प्राकृत बोलेंगे। आपने या तो थोड़ा उसको ठीक नहीं देखा समझा है। उन्होंने कहा है, उन्होंने ये नहीं कहा कि हमेशा स्त्री पात्र संस्कृत बोलेंगे रानियां। उन्होंने कहा कि अपवाद स्वरूप आवश्यकता पड़ने पर इफ द सिचुएशन रिक्वायर्स the kings, the queens and other female characters may also speak Sanskrit. Normally they would be speaking Prakrit. And then this happens in several classical Sanskrit plays, even plays by other dramatists following Kalidasa. This happens in Kalidasa also. Anasuya, Premada, they know Sanskrit very well. When it occasion arises, they can speak in Sanskrit. So what Durvasa has said, they are repeating. Anasuya, Priyambada is repeating in Sanskrit. And so, when a female character starts speaking Sanskrit, there a specific Ranga Nirdesh or direction comes there. Sanskritam Ashritya. So, and Vidushaka, in Rajshekhara, Vidushaka starts speaking in Sanskrit. So, there is a competition of poetry with a Dasi. And the Dasi is reciting stanzas after stanza in Prakrit. So Vidushak starts reciting a Sanskrit stanza. So the king is amused. He says, Sanskritépi pragalvase. You are showing your skills in Sanskrit mein bhi shekhi badha rahe. You are showing yourself in Sanskrit also. So Vidushaka is Vidushaka. So he says, Tvam ammadas pau jana saisam pau pathe pavattosi. You, a man of such noble character, you are going to the way of Prakrit way, like us. So we, the Prakrit people, would start speaking in Sanskrit. If that comes to that, he gives a taunt there. But normally a character who is always expected to speak in Prakrit, sometimes he knows Sanskrit, so any time he can start speaking in Sanskrit. This happens, and in some plays, some characters always, female characters always speak in Sanskrit, like Parivrajika in Kalidasa's Malikagnimithram, Kamandaki, who is a Buddhist nun and a scholar in Malti Madhav. But these are mostly exceptions. There are instances, many more instances, but these are exceptions. And normally, the female characters are speaking Prakrit, as per Bharta's norms.
The normal meaning of anga we almost all know. When you come to the last part and there are angani, how should one render anga there?
Pathyanga.
Well, but these are angas given to pathya.
They are Pathyangas.
Yes, but what English word can we use for anga there?
I have used components. I don't know if you suggest
They're
any.
not actually, well, I don't have any better suggestion, but
Yeah.
I was puzzled. That is, yes, the same word can be used with slightly different meanings according to the context. There is no problem with
Yes,
that.
yes.
But this is not exactly,
Many English terms
no, but this is not,
I am adopting may not be very appropriate.
no, it's not any fault with your presentation, but anga is not really part of the pathya there. This is something
Yeah,
added.
right.
That's why I didn't understand.
I will think of a better. I will check from other translators if they give any other good word. What happens that if a Sanskrit scholars in India translates, he will not even translate the term in English. He will use Pathyanga.
Yes.
In with italics, NPU uses such terms and he doesn't bother to give any equivalent in English. Some others also do this. So I will check. There is another translation by Adi Rangacharya. I was not satisfied with that, so I didn't use it.
Even with that, one may have to use several English words to get the context.
Yeah, to explain the term.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's one thing. About the question about Prithviraj Kapoor and others.
Yeah.
Prithviraj Kapoor was a great actor and he had his skill to project. What we have discussed actually is called projection of voice. So that even the last row can
Yes.
hear. And in the description of why the Buddha was a good speaker, in Pali you see that even in the last row, a bhikshu could understand what he was saying. So India, people were aware of this as a desirable quality in a speaker.
Yes.
Everyone who can project. But Prithviraj was also a mumbler.
Pardon?
A mumbler in
Yeah, that I know, yeah.
Mughal Azam, some of the dialogues are completely spoiled because he's not very clear.
Ah,
That's what I'm saying. So you can have these extremes.
yes. Oh, okay. That is possible. Okay.
Any other questions? So shall we continue for 10 minutes more?
Yes. So we will have tea break at 11.
11.
10 minutes are there only. So one thing I forgot to mention. Yesterday I was discussing Shakuntal, and I suggested that there cannot be any single vratti completely satisfying the theatre requirements of Shakuntal, and I referred to a performance in Manipuri style, and I was forgetting the name of the director. So it is Sanakya Ibotombi. I knew him. Sanakya Ibotombi was. Kanayalal does different type of theatre. So he was Sanakya Ibotombi was doing some Sanskrit plays in Hindi translation. He directed this Shakuntal for Bharat Bhavan. So he completely Manipuri form he used there. And the name of that German director whom I was referring in connection with Kavalam Narayan Panikkar's performance of Shakuntal is Fritz Benewitz. Fritz Benewitz is a well-known theatre director. He used to live in Weimar, but he was called often for doing Brechtian theatre. He was invited in India. So what happened that I saw the performance directed by him of Caucasian Chak Circle in Bundeli translation. He was directing. He didn't know Hindi and Bundeli anything. His English was also very weak, but he directed it. A very good performance. And thereafter I saw Caucasian Chak Circle in German in East Berlin in theatre Berlin Ensemble, which Brecht himself started, and they are doing theatre as Brecht was doing exactly in his line. Just as in Shakespeare's Village they are doing theatre, as in Shakespeare's days it was being done. So they are doing Brechtian plays as Brecht used to direct them. So Caucasian Chalk Circle I saw there. And ultimately the language doesn't count. I was not knowing German, but I could understand. And Bundeli I can understand, but the scenes there's the same effect, same pathetic effect or same wonderful effect there. That if there is an occasion, I would refer to these performances. Anyway, we come to the Dashrupa Vikalpanam, 18th chapter. 10 forms of drama, 10 types of rupakas, which are the major forms of drama. It takes up, it should be drama. And then they are enumerated. This is called Uddesha or Sangraha also in Natyashastra's terminology. So nomenclatures are there. Natakam, Saprakranam, Anko, Vyayoga, Evacha, Bhana, Samokarascha, Vithi, Prahasanam, Dima, Iha, Mragascha, Vigeya, Dash Ime, Natya Lakshane. These are the 10 forms of drama. Natak, Prakran, Ank, Vyayog, Bhan, Samokar, Vithi, Prahasan, Dim, Iha, Mrak. That is the 10th. So it is difficult to give English words. Natak is the perfect, proper play. Prakran is a social play. Anka is full name is Usrashtika Anka. It is a pathetic or tragic play, you can say. Vyayog has fights. Bhan is a monologue. Samokar also is a 3-act play having scenes of war and duels. Vithi is a erotic play, romantic play. Prahasan is farce. And Dim and Ihamrak, they are also having themes of duels and wars and kidnapping, etc. of flying flights, etc. So these 6 types are there. Then he establishes the relationship of vrittis, because through vrittis only the actors would be performing. Bharati, Satvati, Kaishiki, Arvati. So he says, Sarvesham eva kavyanam matrikaha vrittayah smritaha. For all the types of kavyas, that is dramatic scripts or dramas, vrittis are the mothers. Vrittayah matrikaha. They generate. So they are the mothers. Abhya vinisratam yetat dashrupam prayogata. So far as the question of performance goes, this all the 10 forms arise out of the vrittis. So vrittis would make these forms. He gives a very suitable examples also how vrittis make these forms. So depending on on the employment of a vritti, the category of the play would be decided. So because Bharati vritti may be prominently in this Vyayoga type or in other types, or Arvati vritti may be predominant in Samavakara and Dima, etc. So Jativi, Shrutivi, Shaiva, Swaraha, Gramatvam, Agata. Swaras or notes, musical notes, attend Gramatva or Gramahood, the status of Grama, by Jatis and Shrutis. So Jatis and Shrutis will be described in 28th chapter. So Shruti forms the scale of the 7 notes. So 7 notes have 22 Shrutis. This will be taken up. And these Shrutis form different Jatis, musical compositions. So, and Gram is cluster of Swaras. Gram means cluster, Samuha. So, Gram is cluster of Swaras. So, Jatis and Shrutis, they generate Grama of Swaras. In the same way, Vrittis generate different types of Kavyas, categories of Kavya. Tatha vritti bhedehi kavya bandha bhavantihi. But because this system of music, which is a bit different from the music system now in practice, Hindustani Sangeet or Carnatic Sangeet. So these Jati system, this Shruti system was very well known. Therefore he gives the example of Shrutis and Jatis making Grama. So Gramo Purna Saraudautu Yatha Shadja Madhyamu. These two gramas are there, Shadja and Madhyam. Sometimes Gandhar Gram is also taken as the third grama, but normally Shadja and Madhyam, these two are the gramas which Seven Swaraj make. And these two gramas have all the 7 notes. Okay, so they are Purna Swaraj. All the 7 Swaraj they have, all the 7 notes they have. So sometimes some forms of drama have all the 4 vrittis, and some forms of drama may not be having all the 4 vrittis. So it is on the basis of vrittis that the categories of or forms of Rupaka are decided, or they are categorized into different genres. So he now describes how vrittis make these forms or these types of drama. Geyam prakranam chaiva tatha natak mevacha sarva vritti vinishpannam. If all the vrittis are implied, the employment of all the vrittis would yield prakrana and nataka, these 2 types. So they are complete plays in themselves. Nana bandhu samashrayam, various types of structures will be there in these 2. So they are the full forms of drama, we can say. And vithi samokarasya tatha iha mragayavcha usrashtikanko vyayogo bhana prasanam dima kaishiki vrittihinani rupanyetani karayet. These forms of drama, these rupakas, will not have kaishiki vritti. They will have 3 vrittis only. Vithi samokar iha mrag usrashtikank vyayog bhan prasan dim. They make 8. So the remaining 8 ones, they don't have kaishiki vritti. So in the beginning there was no kaishiki vritti, so therefore Bharat Muni could not perform natak and prakran. He performed Amrit Manthan, Samaukar and Tripur Dah dim. So all these varieties, they are without kaishiki, and if kaishiki vritti is added, then a full-fledged drama develops. That is the idea. Now he defines Nataka type. So we will cover the definition of Nataka. It is a long definition, and in later text you may find more precise and better definitions in the way that they can be easily comprehended. Here it is a kind of lengthy and loose definition, but it describes the importance of Nataka type and all the tenets, characteristics of Nataka as the most perfect form of drama. Prakhyat vastu vishayam prakhyato datta nayakam chaiva. A drama has a plot which is well known, some story of mythology, itihas prasiddha, purana prasiddha. So prakhyata vastu is there, the theme and story is famous and well known, like Mahabharata or Ramayana or any Nal Damayanti, Savitri, Satyavan, etc. And the hero is Dhirodat and Prakhyata. Comes from a well known family, good family, Chandravansh, Suryavansh, etc. And he is Dhirodat. Rajarshi Vanshi Charitam Tathaiva Divyashrayo Petam. The Nataka presents Rajarshi Vanshi Charit, the life of the kings of noble families who are known, the kings who are known as Rajarshis. They were kings who were like sages, so this title Rajarshi was given to them. Kalidasa also says, Punya Shabdo Muniriti Muhu Kevalam Rajapurvaha. This king is like a Muni. Only thing is that the appellation Raj is added to him. So he is Raj Muni or Rajarshi, and we are simply Munis. The Brahmachari there says. So they are called Rajarshis, the noble aristocrat Kshatriyas, because of their character. So such character is taken up in Natak. And Divyashrayo Petam, godly characters also figure there. Nana Vibhuti Bhir Yuktam. Nana Vibhuti Bhir Yutam Vriddhi Vilasa Adibhir Gunesh Chaiva. It is not Anushtup, it is Arya. So it is having various types of prosperities, vibhutis, and samriddhi, wealth, vilas, sports, and pleasures of all types, and all these qualities are there. Anka praveshakadhyam. There are ankas and praveshakas. Several acts. Later on he will say that minimum 5 and maximum 10 acts should be there. And later theorists say that if there are 10 acts, then it becomes Mahanataka. So normally there should not be more than 10 acts, but Hanuman Nataka, a version of it has 14 acts. Another version has 9 acts. There are 2 versions of Hanuman Nataka, which is a very interesting text. Otherwise, a Natak will have several acts, and Praveshaka is interlude. So it will have interludes also, the intermediate scenes. So that Natak is there. And Nrpatiyanam Charitam, the life and deeds of kings, Nana Rasbhav Cheshtitam Bhavda, which is of various types, having different rasas, different bhavas, and different actions, that will be delineated or portrayed in a natak. And Sukha Dukkhotpatti Kritam, it emanates from pleasure, from happiness, joy, and sorrow also. So there are situations which reflect the state of being joyful. There are situations where sorrow dominates. So asya avasthopetam karyam saniksha bindu vistarat kartavyo anka sopitu gunanvitam natya tattvakyayi. In the conception of a natak, every anka should have the expansion of bindu. Bindu will be described in the next chapter itself. So after the seed is sown in the beginning of the theme or plot of a play, that develops into a bindu or a point which gets on expanding later on. So every act should have the expansion of the bindu, and it will have the quality how the bindu gets expanded. Then he defines anka. Anka iti rudi shabda bhavaishcha rasaishcha rohayat yarthan. Why anka is called anka? Anka is act. So anka is a rudi shabda, and it is a grammatical category, rudi shabda. So why it is called anka? Because it makes the bhavas and rasas sprout. Ankuranam karoti iti anka. This is the way he explains. So bhavas and rasas are generated in it. So it makes the bhavas and rasas sprouting and developing. So therefore it is called anka or act. Nana vidhana yukta. So yasmat tasmat bhaved anka. Because it has various types of vidhanas or characteristics of plot, arrangements of plot. Therefore it is called anka. Anka samapti. Okay, shall we break here and come? Yeah, it is a long definition, and I will try to cover as much as I can. Okay.
So tea time on this side. And 11:25. I think 20 minutes are enough for tea.
Depends on whether you sit from both sides or one side.